So we are virtually clearing your energy right now. Anything that you feel is going to block you from telling your true comeback story, anything negative, just letting it all go and setting the intention that this interview with you today will help inspire at least one person out there to make their comeback.
Well, I'm down. I'm all in.
Well, we are here with Edson Buddle, and I'm going to let you give us a little intro. Who are you? What do you do?
Pleasure to be here. So my name's Edson Buddle. I'm former World Cup player, professional player, played in the 2000 World Cup, South Africa, played in Major League Soccer, one of the 8th players to score 100 goals, over 100 goals, and played in Germany, in Ingolstadt in 2011. And I was leading goal scorer there as well. I grew up in New York, Westchester, New York. I lived in a few different towns. Currently, I'm the head coach of the Westchester Flames, U23. They created this season during the COVID time. Some of the players on the team's season got canceled due to COVID, so they created this U23 team. So we're 4-0 so far. Next year, we're looking to start our USL2 team. The season is supposed to start in the summer, so I'm the head coach of that team. A lot of the college seasons got pushed back to spring. So everybody's making a huge adjustment. So my transition from player to coach hasn't been as fluid due to the current situation. And kind of giving back all this experience to these young players, aspiring pro players.
Love that. Well, we're so happy that you were able to do that. And so I think one of the really amazing things about having you here and tell your story is that a lot of people talk about the comeback from, starting growing up, making it through school, finally making that dream of, the professional level, whatever league it is, in your case, MLS, but you never really hear a story about what happened after retirement and how, you then start this second chapter of your career, which is great to see that you're in right now and you're thriving and you're doing such a great job of bringing this back, especially to the city of New Rochelle. So one thing about Edson that the three of us have in common, we're all born and raised in New Rochelle, New York. So, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but so thing, that we were talking about before we jumped on here about, I guess, America in general, but specifically Westchester, where we're from, soccer is not a popular sport. And so you grew up, and we'll let you give a little bit of the background, but you grew up, soccer is in your blood. Your father played soccer, you're named after a soccer player, this is your calling in life, obviously. Tell us about what challenges growing up in Westchester, where this isn't a popular sport, and then kind of finding your own path and making this your career.
Well, I have a newfound appreciation for, New Rochelle, Westchester, New York, with all the culture, the history. Maybe as you get older, you start to dig a little deeper. So it wasn't the case when I was growing up. You think I want to get out of here. I couldn't wait to just leave New York and explore, meet new people, tell people I was from New York. But then I tell them I'm from New Rochelle. They're like, oh, that's not New York. It's not Manhattan, So it's like, where is that? Upstate, So yeah, soccer wasn't popular as much. Growing up in New Rochelle, Westchester, I had to go all the way to Long Island. And even when you're in Long Island, even though there's better teams in Long Island for me to develop, it wasn't, everybody wasn't coming to the games. It wasn't, it's kind of like a cult following, in a sense. Now it reversed. Westchester, the teams are a lot better than the Long Island teams, where that wasn't the case. But it still has room to grow in the country. Still not where the rest of the world is as far as how they view the game. So now I have to embrace it and be a lot more proud with my accomplishments as a coach, because I have to motivate kids, where that wasn't the case, where I wanted to make friends when I was a teenager and fit in. So you try to play football, you try to play basketball outside, which ultimately helped my soccer game, because that hand-eye coordination. And so it all goes together. You have players like Steph Curry, Steve Nash, to name a few that, has done well, MVP of the NBA, and they all played soccer. Odell Beckham in football, he's a huge soccer fan. And now it's okay to play both, they complement each other. My dad. I would start with my dad. Let's go even further back. He fell in love with the game. You know, his dad was an architect, or is an architect in Jamaica. A lot older now. My grandfather, who lives in Jamaica, and my grandfather wanted my dad to follow his footsteps as in that business, you know, as an architect. But once my grandmother and my grandfather split up, my grandmother came here to America. Came to Harrison first, and my dad, you know, went to Harrison High School. And so I think he fell in love before he came here. But there's a lot more foreign people here that love the game, that he was able to find leagues in Brooklyn, you know, White Plains. It's all over through the metropolitan area in Queens, so he can develop his game and just stay in the mix of soccer, you know. And my grandmother doesn't really understand the sport, so my dad had to read up on it, you know, himself and find whatever articles he could find at that time. Soccer wasn't displayed on TV, so he became like a student of the game. Then he had me. Then, you know, leagues were always folding at the time. As a young pro. My dad went to Greece, you know, Cyprus. So I don't remember Greece too much, but I remember Cyprus. So I was around the game while he was playing, and the kids on the side would play. So that probably helped my development, just playing with different kids from all over the world, you know, and just seeing, you know, it's a difference, you know, how a European basketball player plays basketball in the NBA is different from the American that plays pickup on the street, you know. So there's different, you know, variations of the game that I just kind of put in one and then make my own kind of sauce, you know, in a sense. So, you know, that's not the case for a lot of the American-born kids who don't have a soccer background, because they're just learning from their youth coach who probably never played the game, you know? So I encourage, you know, kids now to find someone who has done it before, and so you have someone to base your game off of, you know? And I'm not like putting down coaches who never played pro or anything like that. I don't want it to come off like that, but if you know, it's like iron sharpens iron in a sense, you know.
But yeah, we call that like an expander, because you're seeing somebody else doing something that you want to do, and instead of feeling like, oh, like they already, or whatever, it's like it shows you your potential, like what you can achieve based on just seeing that it can be done.
Yep, I agree, totally.
So now fast forward a little bit. Did you have any, I guess bring us to the point in your career where you were trying to make it professionally. Did you feel like there were any blocks? Did you feel like there were any moments where you were close to giving up, or did you just always know that this was your path? Well,
a few spots, a lot, I would say, that I questioned whether I was gonna continue to play. In my teenage years, you know, like I said prior to this answer I'm gonna give, my friends played baseball, you know, so I didn't know I was gonna play pro. The league was still young. The league MLS started in '96, so it wasn't like I was a high school kid saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go pro. I'm gonna, make it to the league. I'm gonna be big." Didn't know how I was gonna get there, but about I was 17, 18 years old. Landon Donovan, one of the better U.S. players, or the best U.S. player ever, went pro. DeMarcus Beasley, he played the most World Cups out of any American player, 4 World Cups. He went pro. So once I saw them go pro at that age, I said, okay, I see what I got to do. So there's like a Nike Project 40 situation.
You saw Landon go pro, and then you ended up obviously playing with him. So that's
right.
Full circle,
right? Like watching,
right? He's 1 year young. He's 1 year younger, so it was easy. You know, it's the age. You know, so we would play against each other, and I get to see what level I'm at. You know, versus my friends who not really encouraged me. They don't know. I remember one of my friends said, "Oh, I saw one of your games, and you look lost out there." I was like, "Oh, he doesn't understand the game. He doesn't know. I'm like one of the better players. He doesn't even know." So that's not encouraging to your question. You know, like you don't feel it. It's very discouraging as a young kid. Later on, I realized that's why I don't walk in rooms very proud, or, you know, I kind of shelter it. I try to find out what other people want to talk about versus, you know, what are my thoughts on the Champions League games on the weekends. or midweek in soccer, which is a big deal in the soccer community that's grown really fast in this country to this moment. Injuries, I got knee surgery in about 98, so I was about 17, 18, I got knee surgery. So that was discouraging, not knowing how it would bounce back. You hear about young guys blowing out their knee. I got surgery here in New York at the Hospital of Special Surgery. Talk about relationships. My dad coached someone's kid who happened to be a doctor, and then that's how I got to the Hospital of Special Surgery. And we're friends to this day. That kid is the VP of MLS, so that's go figure. So I've gained so many relationships through the game. So after my knee surgery, I was about 18, 19, and I went to the U23 national team. We won a college championship, and I went to a junior college in Missouri. And talk about setbacks. I didn't graduate from high school, so I had a friend that had the same grade issues, but he was on the youth national team, and he said he's going to college, a junior college in Missouri, and he's going to take his GED and go to that school. So I ended up doing the same thing because he told the coach got in touch with me. So this is before like cell phones, so we had this contact sheet and somehow got a hold of the coach. And then I ended up passing my test, working in the summer, going to school there, winning a championship, kind of on a high. And then I go into this youth national team camp down in, maybe it was Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. And I had a really good day the first day, but it's like a 10-day camp. At the end of camp, we have our meetings before they release us back home. And the coach, German guy, he has a Wolfgang Sundholz, he says, you're not ready for this level. You were great. Your level of play kind of went down. Maybe it's a fitness thing. And mind you, in college, you're eating a lot of chicken strips and fries, but now you're playing against fitter guys from all the best of the best, like 30 guys trying out for this team. And you get a bit discouraged hearing that. But for me, it was like the reverse. I was like, okay, maybe I should go pro in the lower division and come home in Long Island and play for the Long Island Rough Riders, where men are training each and every day. They're a bit stronger, faster than I am. And if I'm in that environment, I will get better and I'll get another chance to go back into camp. And I got Rookie of the Year, stayed healthy all season, and went back into camp. And I think it motivated, the coach telling me I wasn't ready really motivated me, where, it could have had the reverse effect. But leaving that camp, I was pissed. I was like, damn, I can't tell nobody. Do I tell my friend? Kind of wanted to, I don't think I even told my friend. I told my dad, but my friends, I kept it away from them just because they don't know one. And, I don't need any more, like any feeling of, I didn't want to feel that energy of just, soccer doesn't matter, so I didn't tell him anything.
Do you feel like there was anything like mindset wise that because obviously a lot of people, that's such a discouraging thing to hear. So how did you get yourself to hear this negative feedback that you're not ready and take that and use it as motivation to get yourself in a good spot? It's so easy, right, for somebody to give you negative feedback and you to just say all right, I'm done with this. And not use it as motivation. What?
Or how did you feel in that moment that made you think this is exactly why I'm going to keep trying?
Well, you got to be honest with yourself first. I knew I wasn't doing the right things from the nutrition standpoint. I never spoke to a nutritionist at that age. Maybe in 2002, I started to speak to a nutritionist, but at that age, I didn't know about healthy eating, how to train the right way. Yeah, I can just run, but there's actually, you can write a program and follow that program and body fat and all these things. So I was honest with myself and try to put myself in the best position to get fit. And that was be in the team environment. Now, you can play with older guys and still not get fit. You have to do so many little things, the hydration, what your intake is, it's so many elements to being a pro that you have to do your research and be honest with yourself. So once the coach told me I wasn't ready, I wasn't fit, I was like, yeah, that's probably true. So if you're not honest and you're thinking you have this sense of entitlement, you won't get over that hump.
I think that's an important lesson for anybody who's trying to elevate themselves physically. But yeah, is just looking at yourself and being completely honest. Like, yeah, I might not be where I want to be right now, but using that as motivation to then find out, connect yourself with the right people, the right nutritionists, surround yourself with guys who are in the same mindset as you, who are playing and are training every day and are basically doing the things that you want to be doing. I think that's just such an important piece of the puzzle.
Right.
It's like if you're hanging out with people who are eating McDonald's every day and
correct,
don't, not taking care of themselves physically, it's easy to be like, yeah, okay, I'll get McDonald's. Like, sure, why not? And not to
right.
I love McDonald's, but hey, but it's, as a college kid, it's like you're doing what's convenient at the time.
Right.
So I think it really takes a lot of self-discipline to surround yourself and to change up your routine and do something that's not natural to you, not comfortable to you.
Absolutely. And it's consistency with anything. You have to love it. First of all, you have to have a passion, a love for the game. So that I had a deep love for the game. So I was like, nothing's going to get in my way to get there. So you have to really be in love with what you do to kind of be persistent. So I think that looking back, I didn't know that's what I was doing, but as an older person, I'm saying, okay, I was just persistent, wouldn't let anything get in my way. There was no plan B. It was like plan A is going to work. It's like now I'm on my coaching journey. I know I wanted to coach. It's like, I don't care. I'll sacrifice everything just to put myself in position to coach. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So on your journey from playing as a kid to then playing at the college level to then making it professionally, obviously there were a lot of setbacks along the way. Take us to the point of while you're playing professionally and some injuries occurred and you did make a comeback and you were actually won the award for Comeback Player of the Year. So take us to that rock bottom situation and then what it took for you to then come back and actually win that award. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we were in Columbus and I played for Columbus and we were in New England and Gillette Stadium, football lines, it's Tom Brady, 10,000 fans and 100,000, right? Stadium, right? So it looks empty, totally empty. But it's the semifinals and we were looking like we were going to win. And then we're to corner kick and I go up for that header. One of my teammates fall on my leg and, it didn't really snap. It just kind of weird. It just felt funny. It felt like a sprain. But it actually was a fracture and I couldn't tape it up, or I tried to tape it up, and I could still feel the pain. So got an x-ray, and then I find out that I fractured my 4th metatarsal. Now, normally, it's like a freak accident. Normally, people fracture their 5th metatarsal, but my luck, I fractured my 4th, and I was completely out. And my good thing, I have family that's supportive. I think I didn't pick up my phone for a while because I was just bummed. I didn't know how to deal with injuries when you're young. You just don't want to be Debbie Downer on the phone. So they've always been in my corner at that time. I missed the finals, but I was on crutches. We won, so it was bittersweet. My dad came out with one of his friends to the finals, but I didn't get a chance to play. So you don't want to seem like it's all about you. You got to be supportive, even though you're not playing. So these little lessons there were in my journey that, so when it happens to someone else, you tell them, pick your head up, lift your team spirits up. So I always kind of knew that the environment kind of teaches you, forces it on you to learn these little things. But the next year I got back in shape. When you're injured, it's not like you're getting paid, right? So you can't not do anything. You have to come in and maybe do the arm bike, you have to, your leg doesn't work, but they'll make you do the arm bike. They'll make you do exercises on one foot. So as long as that foot is protected. So I did that as much as I can. That sucks. It's frustrating. But after the boot came off, got in shape, you don't know how it's going to respond. I even had a bone stimulator that one of the doctors gave me. That helped. I'm healthy, I'm fit. I see a nutritionist, so take some of the weight off. I wasn't enormous, but 2 pounds helps, 5 pounds is a big difference, in sports and pro sports. I started off slowly, but then, I gained momentum. I'm a very streaky scorer. So I got kind of a 9-goal scoring streak. after my foot injury. And the team did pretty well that season. Maybe got like supporter shield or second place or something, like not overall, but like during the season. So in soccer, you have like the regular season and you got the playoffs. And in Europe, they just have the season, no playoffs, you know? So it's a little different structure here for the soccer and non-soccer fans. So here we came in second in the regular season, and then so we did pretty well. And then you get your awards before the playoffs. So I got comeback player of the year after my injury, which was rewarding because you know, the arm by doing exercises in the boot, the smell of the cast, you know, it's just miserable, you know. So that was very rewarding to get comeback player of the year after, you know, missing the finals, you know, having that energy that, you know, that you gotta curve because your family's in town, but you gotta support your team and act like everything is okay, just happy to be here, and fighting back through the pain to get comeback player after my foot injury was probably the biggest, you know, setback or feeling like I, you know, discouraged, you know, more than when I was 8. Because when you're 18, 17, I had the knee surgery, you feel invincible when you're that age, you know.
Got comeback player of the year.
I was 21, I would say. So,
yeah.
But injuries happen. I tell the guys on my team now, you're going to get injured. There's guys who have injuries now, and I said, no, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're going to get injuries going forward. But that's how you learn your body. And because you got to break kind of to get stronger. You know, it kind of sounds weird, like it's no pain, no gain type of thing. But you get to learn your body through these injuries going forward.
Would you say, like, mentally, if there are any tips that you give your guys or that you personally followed to, you know, physical body is recovering, that mentally you're able to, like, get yourself to that comeback?
I think that's the biggest part, is the mental side. You know, you have to say, you know, I'm going to do this, you know, I'm going to be better. You know, I have something to prove. And that's not the case for everyone. Not everyone feels like that. Some people say, I got an injury. The coach is not going to play me. It's going to be hard. Everyone's going to be fitter than me when I get back. Yeah. So you have to change your game up a little bit to get fit, you know. So the mental side is the hardest part more than the physical, because, you know, it can say, oh, you're ready to play. But if you're timid to make a tackle or to kick the ball, you know, you're never going to get over that hump, you know, as a, you know, injured player coming back to full strength. But on the mental side, you know, and people have different ways of doing it. Reading a book, getting away from the game. I started getting into yoga, hot yoga at that time, with flexibility. Yeah.
Yes.
So these things you learn because you have to find other ways to keep up with the group. So, you know, like I said, you have to have the passion for it, or you could be experimenting. It's so many different ways to get there, you know, more than one path.
Like it's like adapting, right? Like
adapting,
you know, you're physically not able to do things that you should be doing to train. As for soccer, it's mostly like lower body that you would want to work out. And now you're doing the arm bicycle, or now you're doing yoga, which is like, you know, less of a cardio workout and more just like mental and body strength. But I think, you know, it seems like that did help you come back stronger, because you didn't just sit around and feel sorry for yourself. You were like motivated to keep going. And obviously that work paid off when you got that comeback player of the year.
Right. Then you have different body types, right? You have people have different body types, weight, height, you know, of what you need. You have to tailor, you know, your life or your injury, you know, to your body type and who you are, you know, so it's different. You can't say what worked for me worked for someone else. So it's got to learn to enjoy working on yourself, kind of a thing. And that, which is tough. It sounds easy, but it's really hard sometimes to focus on you. It's easy to kind of help others or focus on someone else.
I agree. I think the quote that I always say is, when you don't know what to do with yourself, do something for someone else. Totally. And it's like, yeah, it's easy to give the advice, but when you know what you have to do, sometimes you're just like,
Right. Seriously.
You should do this, but like, not. So, you know, because you went through all of this injury, this comeback, and I think you had a couple of injuries during your professional career. Do you feel like there's any specific advice that you give your athletes now as a coach? Like, obviously letting them know, like, you're going to get injured, giving them the cold hard truth with that. But like, when a player is injured, you know, like, what I guess, steps or advice would you offer them?
Well, I've learned over the years that soccer is a small part of your big life. So sometimes you're doing something you're enjoying for the moment. That's all you see. So you have to find hobbies, whether it's shooting pool, bike riding, yoga, reading books, so many things, people of walks of life that are doing cool things, innovative things. So have an open mind while you're going through these injuries, and don't try to be closed-minded, because it could be a downward spiral effect where, you go into depression and you don't even realize it sometimes, because sometimes you're tunnel vision as a child or a young person. So it depends who you surround yourself with. You got to be careful, be mindful, surround yourself around people that are into things that you are, so you can, be innovative, kind of bring out your creative juices, I would say. So I think that was important. Looking back, at the time, no, I didn't have that all set up. Like now, I know it's good to be around like-minded people just for my mental health and for the direction I want to go. So I think that's important. That's what I tell young guys, because it's not just one thing. There's so many ways that I try to give pieces from everywhere, all in 1 minute when I talk to kids. Speed advice.
Through all of your setbacks or injuries, did you have support from anyone that really helped you, I guess, see the light at the end of the tunnel and know that you're going to get through this, you're going to make a comeback?
A lot of people throughout my years has always told me to believe. You hear people say things over the years. I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but people always said, believe in yourself. So it's teachers, coaches, parents. So maybe they probably saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so a lot of people along the way, different people, other people's parents, told me things to help me, get to where I wanted to go to, and it's up to you to be receptive and take that in and pick pieces from each person. But it takes a village to raise, people. No one can do it by themselves. So I think that's important. Some people say, I want to do it on your own. It takes a village. It really takes a village, to raise your community, who you grow up around. I think that's all plays a huge part of where I've gotten to.
For sure. And out of that village, I'm sure you got a lot of advice. What was the best piece of advice that you got from anyone? Best
advice. I don't want to sound cliche, but it's believing in yourself, I would say. And I thought I believed in myself. What do you mean I don't believe in myself? I dress nice, I'm cool, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't take, that's living a certain way, how you take care of yourself. So that's when you really truly believe in yourself, and you look like an athlete. If you want to be an athlete, like for me, it was an athlete. So it was like, you look like an athlete. You're talking, you're encouraging your friends to work out. Like that's really believing in yourself. And that's something I'm working on to this day, to kind of live that on and off the field. It shouldn't just when I get to the field, I have to live it off the field as well.
I love that. Totally. So after your career, when you decided to retire, did you always know that this was the next step, that you wanted to become a coach? And, kind of take us down that path. Like, were there any setbacks along the way of now coming into this next chapter?
I actually wanted to take some time off from the game, and I should have just went straight into it. But I needed that time maybe to myself to see who I am. And I was in LA, I would just live LA life, just take time to meet new people and explore a bit. And I realized you have a responsibility. It's like, you want to make it, you want to be the best you can be, but now you have a responsibility once you get to a certain level to give back to all that experience. I'm coaching. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there's kids that don't know a lot of the things. I'm thinking that everybody just knows. Like, everybody's like, I'm always a student. So I didn't realize how far I've gone, with my game. And it's not just about the game. It's all the mental side. I see how kids talk to themselves. So I become the teacher. I'm like, wow. But I always thought people didn't view me that way. I didn't see myself, in a sense. And now I'm having to adjust to being that teacher. So if I knew that, then I would have said, okay, I have to get right into it because I have all this information. These kids need this, but I didn't feel that confident. I didn't feel like how I feel today, where I'm saying, okay, maybe that's the self-worth, of who you are, but today, looking back, I would definitely jump straight into coaching. Now, I took about 4 years before I did. I would do camps, appearances, when I retired, which is not the same as consistent coaching, with the team. But that's fun, the camps and clinics, but you really have impact on the kid's life when you're with them every day. You're having Zoom meetings with them. You're, asking them questions about their family, because it's so, if you're about that life, you don't have to, some people are just all about them, so, but for me, I've always been a giving back person. I have a humanitarian award. So that says something about, I guess, myself, where, I wouldn't have took that 4-year break of not jumping straight into coaching. And there's so many things I have to learn too, just as far as how to walk into, I feel like I was in the sports, but walk into the LA Galaxy office and just have a meeting about, what I can bring and pick their brain. So I had to relearn all over again how to, walk into the world and operate as I was very tunnel vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a common thing, with athletes. It's like some people don't even make it through 4 years of college. They get drafted or they get, signed by a league. And so you grow up this is all is being this athlete and this life. And then it's, when that ends, whether it's an injury or retirement, or it's just run its course, it's, a difficult transition for people to make. So, I mean, I think it is great that you took some time for yourself to really figure out what is it that you want to do. Some people it might take longer. Some people might be able to jump into it right away. But I think it's important that you touched upon, you're constantly the student, even though you're in the teacher role, you're still learning new ways to bring all this knowledge and all these skill sets and everything that you've learned on your journey. And now how do you package it up and help your kids, that help your athletes that are on your team. So I think that's just a really good point to make, is that there might be some more setbacks, hopefully more comebacks. But yeah, and then, so I guess in terms of, do you think there's any challenges of coaching in New York versus coaching other places where soccer is more popular, or you think it's becoming an up and coming? They say, there's a saying, right? If you make it in New York, you make it anywhere. Mm-hmm. So the New York crowd is very tough. As far as you got to really come good, you got to know your stuff. I don't want to take anything away from the coaches that take their time. Some of them have 2 jobs to coach these kids, but to be a coach, you have to be confident in what to sell to the kids, right? But a lot of them don't have that pro experience or haven't been in the environments I have. So sometimes when I see things, I'm like, wait a minute, that's really wrong. They have to do it this way, but I don't call them out. I kind of just have conversation, or I do it in my session. Word travels fast, so these kids tell their they tell their friends what they're doing with me, and they realize okay, this feels right. They like the environment that I've created for them. So you bring a fresh perspective because you've actually done it and you have that real life experience. You're not just,
Correct. But then, you have people that may question me now. They're like, wait a minute, I have more of the experience. I'm like, a coach kind of tell me what they're doing or their perspective. I have a strong perspective, but maybe that's just me being a kid. Sometimes I feel like I just respect other people's opinion, where they're not trying to tell me, they're just trying to have a discussion. I can come off as intimidating as a pro player, and they want to come off like they know more. So I'm trying to balance everything, and that's part of the student part still of being a coach.
So what is something that no one tells you about comeback?
Well, no one tells you about the comeback. That they don't want you to come back, I guess. Because you're competing in that environment. So you have guys that are looking for that slot, So that's one. What else? Oof. No one tells you. That's a really good question.
Or even the comeback to the league, but like in a different role, like coming back from being a player to now being a coach?
Coming back to the game. So after you retire from the pro, people are watching. You know, I underestimate how competitive the world is. You know, whether it's not just men, it could be women. How much women are competitive too, right? So it's like, oh, you should be coaching in MLS. That's actually hard, you know, like, that's like, you have to deal with the community relations. You have the emails. My email game could be better, you know, like so many elements in running a franchise that I'm learning through this club here, where it can help me, stages for me. But people are watching, oh, you should be here. No, I shouldn't, I should be here for now to develop and groom myself. It takes time. It's like starting all over. But people do put expectations on you that they see in you, because maybe it's for the better. I don't know if it's bad. I don't know if it's negative, but it depends how you receive it, right? And how you manage those expectations from others.
Going off of that, final words of wisdom for anybody watching at home, Team ELEVARI, anybody who is transitioning in their career or trying to make a physical comeback, whether it's sports related, injury related. Final words of wisdom.
I would conclude this by saying, believe in yourself, be a good human. I would say follow your passion, because don't get stuck in something that you don't want to do or you don't believe in. If it doesn't feel right, follow your energy. Energy is real. And I would encourage people to watch more soccer.
Well, thanks for tuning in and watching Edson Buddle and talk about his journey, and get ready to physically ELEVARI.